This is part two of the public's great send-off to those that betrayed God and country, when, after Potter and Rehrig invited people to visit Carmel Beach in June of 2020, a mere few weeks later, thoroughly enjoyed their show of force by attacking a tourist who had heeded that invite and tried to walk peacefully with his dog in the ocean. It is the final day of their terms for Mayor Dave Potter and Councilman Bobby Richards, and it's the people's turn to tell you what we think of your service and how you're going to be remembered.
Good evening. I think the picture that's being painted here is one where the government has gone beyond the bounds that restrict it. The Constitution restricts what city, county, state governments can do. It's really unfortunate that that has happened, but everybody's going to be responsible for the choices that they made during that time. And unfortunately, the attorney that you hired, Jonathan Redford, wasn't admitted to practice before the first district. And all of the documents that were submitted on your behalf through him should not have been valid in that court. It would be nice to be able to repair these mistakes, to be able to reconnect, and to be able to honor God and to honor the people. So I would just encourage you all to really reflect on that, perhaps reflect on the Constitution, the First Amendment, freedom of association, the Fourth Amendment, the right to be secure in your persons, papers, houses, and property. And that's a very big responsibility for everybody, and we all need to take it very seriously. So I'd just like to ask you, some of you are leaving, you won't be in public service anymore. Perhaps you may be able to contribute another way, but please reflect on this, and please just remember that God created man, and man created government, and government shouldn't be becoming between God and man. We own the earth, we own the beach. The beach doesn't close. It's not a shop, it's not private property. We're entitled, it's also in the California Constitution, Article 10, Section 4. We have a right to access navigable waterways, okay? So we need to be really careful when we're heavy-handed and we take away rights from the free people, from the American people. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Next speaker.
Can you hear now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. I'm calling because I as well wish to pick up on the tragic story of all the poor choices by Mr. Potter and Chip Rehrig, choosing to pretend that they had the right to close nature to the people, costing huge amounts of money that we the people are paying, and those costs are still rising because the errors have never been admitted nor atoned for. Worse, the first story of how the first attorney turned out not to be registered was followed by a complete duplicate. The same company, Carpenter, Rothens, and Dumont, next had Esther Teixeira file a notice of appearance because she was supposed to replace Redford, but she as well had not registered. These are incredible coincidences and or something that maybe was just going to get to come to your attention one way or another. And it is costing the people terribly. But how about just noticing what was posted in your agendas for the second half of 2020, where you, Mayor Potter, Council members Jeff Barron and Bobby Richards, approved of the following. Section 2, ordering that the rules should apply to the city beaches, that, and without going into so much detail, that there would be punishments for sunbathing, barbecues, having a cooler, etc. Did you honestly think it was okay to tell us, we the people, the original authors and continuing source of government, that you would threaten that we should be punished with 6 months in jail for sunbathing or bringing a cooler onto the beach? Who do you think you are doing that? Please remember that on July 17th, 2020, Chief Paul Tomasi gave an interview with the Carmel Pinecone, further threatening the people, his bosses who pay for his job, that if we brought a chair onto Carmel Beach, we could face a jury trial. The case that you invited onto yourselves with your brash and foolish choices was filed because of your attempts to lay claim to a part of the coast that shows what happens when you violate the laws of the one God who created our beautiful beach in the first place. The spiraling errors of your attorneys that were set in motion by a power which no man on earth can oppose can serve as a caution to politicians everywhere. Those coming in do
Jean,
not
your time is
repeat
up. Thank
these
you.
errors.
Let me remind everyone it was Chip Rarig's unilateral decision on the morning of the 4th of July weekend in 2020 to quote-unquote close Carmel Beach under threats of arrest, violence, fines, criminal charges, and actual violence. He is the reason the beach is completely devoid of any people like in this photo. And he caused this and this. Chip Rarig's decision, along with the eager cooperation of the Carmel-by-the-Sea Police Department and City Council, laid siege to a part of the California coast like an invading army attempting to conquer those that have purchased their homes. And despite the people displaying these images to the gallery and the council members in the December 3rd meeting, reminding them of Rarig's choices, during that very same meeting, the council members rewarded Rarig with even more of our money and extended his contract. His second raise this year, bringing his base salary to $250,000. They took turns praising Rarig for his work leading the city. You do a good job of managing being bossed around by the council, Barron said, after observing that much of the city administrator's hard work goes unseen by the public. Do you mean this, Councilman Barron? Is that what you mean by his hard work going unseen? But we saw this, Barron. We showed you. None of you can claim this was unseen. Mayor Dave Potter, taking part in his final meeting, told Rarig he's grateful for all of his hard work. Keep it up, don't give up, stick it out. And Councilwoman Dramoff said she appreciates the fact that Rarig is on duty basically 24/7. I know it can often be a thankless job. And since the siege of Carmel Beach in 2020, they've given Rarig one raise after the other, increasing his base pay $35,000 a year from the beginning of 2022 to now, a $35,000 per year increase in less than 2 years, and they are typically retroactive. We need to be honest with ourselves. The politicians in Carmel-by-the-Sea behaved as though they had crowned themselves monarchs that reveled in the idea of subjugating their indentured servants and thought we the people were too weak to speak out or too stupid to notice. They get a perverse thrill out of forcing us to slave our lives away to pay for their vacations, their children's education, and their bloated pensions when they believed they were so untouchable, so above the rule of law, their indentured servants would simply accept being threatened with 6 months in jail for sunbathing on a public beach, so the halcyon days of their rolling tyranny could continue on forever, unabated. The council members of Carmel-by-the-Sea were probably laughing behind closed doors that their subjects believed they were a free people when they can do this to us and make us pay for it, and pay for it, and pay for it, and pay for it. Maybe that was before this meeting, but from the looks on their faces, I'll bet they're not laughing anymore.